Well, what a week it's been, for farming. Or the last couple of days been for farming, really, with the budget, isn't it? Do you know what? I thought, as someone's going to be directly affected by the Chancellor's inheritance tax scheme for farming, I thought I probably ought to just give my perspective on this, because it will undoubtedly affect us here. So if I recap, if you don't know already, up until Wednesday, farms in the UK, well, England anyway, definitely, were exempt from inheritance tax. So you could leave your farm to your kids without any clawback or anything like that. And it worked really well, with some exceptions. It worked well in the fact that people like myself could pass the farm down through generations to their children and their grandchildren who'd have it, and blah blah blah. It could go on, and in fact that's worked really well on this farm. Our farm is 202 years we've been farming here. I'm really proud of that, because we've, not just me, but through the generations we've faced all sorts of adversity, whether it's from world wars or TB, foot and mouth, everything like that. We've kept going. We made a living off the land, but the main thing is we'd be able to pass that farm on. Now on Wednesday, the rules of that changed, and from I think it's April 2026, if you've got a family farm like this, you will be liable for inheritance tax. The threshold they've set it at is £1 million. Okay, so first £1 million exempt from inheritance tax, and then above £1 million is 20%. So 50% of 40 basically, which is the normal inheritance tax rate. So you're getting a discount. That's very kind of, isn't it? We're getting a discount. 20%. Now, this is the laughable thing, right? And I laughed. I watched the budget and my heart sank. It really did. Like many farms around the UK, I kind of like, okay, so I'm one of the guys that goes on the internet and people know me from farming, but I'm no different from anyone else with a family farm who don't have a voice. I've got a voice and I want to tell you what I think of it. They set the threshold at £1 million, and they said that will protect the family farm. It kind of tells you just absolutely how clueless the Labour Party are. They have no idea the value of farming and land and everything like that. £1 million, let me tell you this now, won't buy you very much. The devil's in the detail, of course. I haven't seen to see whether it includes the farmhouse or stock, or whether we're just talking about land, or what they're talking about. But I imagine it will encompass everything. I imagine if they're looking at the farm business, they'll go all your assets, including what's in the bank, if you've got anything in the bank, but also all your livestock, all your, what they call it, dead stock, so all the things like your farm machinery, your combine, and the farmhouse. So there I am there with a lovely farmhouse. I am very lucky and privileged to live in that beautiful place. But now, effectively, that is becoming a millstone around my neck, because if I take the value of that farmhouse, handed down from 1822, our family first moved there, handed down through the generations, it's quite a considerable valuable asset. Now, if you put that together with the stock, some machinery, before you know it, not just me, but many farmers will breach £1 million. Because if you look, for example, you've got a combine, could be worth £200,000. Could be a couple of tractors on the farm, 100 grand each maybe. Your stock, you might have 300 cattle, they could be worth £1,000 each or more. It could be pedigree. Before you know it, chuck in maybe even a modest bungalow or something with it, you've breached £1 million before you've even reached the land value. So where the hell they got their £1 million thing for protecting family farms, I have no idea. You're basically talking about, around this area, which is quite a wealthy area, a small holding will make £1 million, before you've even put any stock and a tractor on it. Jesus, I mean, £1 million probably around here will buy you a flipping small holding with 10 acres. It's unbelievable. You're talking about a massive debt that will be carried on to future generations now. I'm looking at it from my point of view. That's the same way as a lot of family farms will be looking at now. I'm thinking, is it worth it? Is it worth it for my kids really to be involved in farming? as you well know, you've seen Harry, you've seen how keen he is to be part of the farm, and I wonder whether it's really worth him doing it now. I really do, because ultimately when I pass, unless there is ways to get around this or put something in trust or something, ultimately he will be saddled with a massive debt on this place. There's no two ways around it. That will happen. Now that debt is more than what the farm will probably produce to pay off a mortgage, you know, because I'm very lucky. Okay, we own the place. I haven't got a mortgage on it because I was left it with my brother. We were left the farm. We don't have a mortgage. We don't generate that much money. I'm very lucky. As you well know, I do YouTube and I try and make a bit of an extra money by selling calendars and stuff, but I try and not take money from people. I don't have a membership scheme. I don't try and say give me donations. I very much feel like you should earn money, and so from my point of view, I try and graft, and that extra money has kind of kept me my head above water, or our family above water. But the actual farm, it struggles to make a lot of money. It will do. We're a 120 acre farm. We're not a big farm. We can't generate that much cash, but we do very well. We keep going, you know, we're here. But if you chuck the mix into that a £400,000 or £200,000 mortgage on it as well, I think it would be a real struggle. And that's what people are facing now. What we're facing is potentially farmers, when they die, leaving a massive tax burden for the next generation, who quite rightly will probably go, do you know what? Why am I grafting to pay off a debt to the government for something that was been in our family for years? And why am I taking a salary of 15, 20 grand? Why am I doing this? Why don't we just quit? Why don't we sell up? Why don't I just go and get a job working for the council, get a pension, retire at 55? I don't know, not 55, that won't happen anymore, will it? Maybe retire at 65, be sorted out, regular holidays, paid holidays and stuff. That's just an example of where I think they're pushing the family farm. I mean, I don't think they quite understand what's involved in keeping a business like this going. I mean, to hammer an industry which already struggles to make money. We've lost a single farm payment. You could argue that that's not a bad thing, maybe. You know, if the market makes up the difference, and actually the processors for my milk or the purchasers of my beef will pay a decent price, then why do we need a subsidy from the government? I've always been a bit, you know, I've taken a subsidy, I confess I have, but why should there be subsidised food? I don't know. I think you should pay a fair price for it. Everyone should get a good living out of it, and then, you know, no need for subsidies there. I think that's what happened in New Zealand, and from what I was speaking to my cousin the other day, he said food's very expensive there because they've taken away the subsidy. You know, we're in a situation now. It's too early for me to say where we're going personally on this farm. I've got to get some financial advice on this. People talk about things like trusts and gifting and stuff, but there are lots of complications with that. There's financial issues in paying solicitors and accountants to sort all this stuff out. And let me tell you this now, the winners of this are solicitors and accountants, because at the end of the day, they will get their money whatever. And if you try and put something into place, it ain't going to be 50 quid to sort this out, is it? It's going to be thousands. It will be. And again, you know, a small farm like mine, that's a lot of money to find. You know, the larger farms can probably deal with it, and the bigger farms like Clarkson's and Dyson and that, they've already got accountants, solicitors going through this with a fine-tooth comb. They've got the money to sort this out, and that's why I was implying earlier about the late, you know, some of the inheritance tax things in the past were a little bit shady, I think, because you've got people like Dyson and that who are probably using farmland as a way of sheltering their money from tax. But you know what I really think they should have done is put the threshold. If they're going to bring inheritance tax in on farms, £1 million is nothing. It doesn't give anyone a chance. It really doesn't. It doesn't give a small guy any chance. You know, and if you've done well, you know what are they trying to do? What are they trying to do? If you've got a small farm and you try and improve yourself and improve the farm and make it bigger and put buildings up or whatever, what have you done? All you've done is increase your tax burden for the government to rob you. I can't believe it, really. I'm so cross and so sad about this because, okay, I'll be all right. I'm here now. But the next generation, they've been screwed. They've just been crapped on, really, by the government. I'm on a rant now. I am. There's loads more I could say. You know, what are they trying to do? You know, you got people coming over here on boats being stuck in a flipping hotel with a mobile phone, 3 meals a day, and then there's people like me who actually get up every morning at flipping 5:30, 6 o'clock, Christmas Day and everything like that, grafting, and then you're going to hammer us with inheritance tax to take away the very thing that creates the wealth of this country. Jesus, you know what? How can you think that that's good? How can you think that's good? Fair enough, tax all the Oglish with their flipping 5 houses in Belgravia, whatever, and a yacht and all this stuff, and the people with second homes and stuff. You don't need a second home. It's a lovely thing to have. I wouldn't mind a second home. I mean, you know, go and live in Cornwall, but you don't need a second home. But what are you going to do if you start dismantling the actual infrastructure of farming by all this inheritance tax, which will happen? Because I can tell you this now, okay, there will be some people who plan for this, and maybe there are some ways around some of this, I don't know, but there will be a significant number of farmers who can't cope with this, do not like approaching anyone like an accountant or solicitor. Flipping out, I don't. I'm married to a solicitor. I don't mean that nastily. But they don't want to be involved in red tape and stuff. And the system before worked really well. It was passed down and you didn't really have to do that much. But there will be plenty of people, especially the older generation, who just loathe getting involved with any planning like this. And the government will rely on that. The government will rely on people not understanding this or not willing to do this. And I particularly feel sorry for anyone who perhaps is got a parent or something who owns a farm who's literally just died or might die in the next 6 months or something, because they won't be able to put anything in place. They'll get hammered on inheritance tax from that April 26th, and it's just completely unjust in my opinion. How we move forward with this, I really don't know. You know, farming for tax and what's laughable, right? Even if you could put £400,000, say, tax money aside to pay your inheritance tax, that becomes then part of your estate. So they would, if you did, I'm never going to have 400 grand in the bank. If you had 400 grand in the bank, and it's part of all the things you've got, quite possibly you could get 40% or 20%, wherever it's structured, on that. So you can't win, can you? Life insurance is probably one of your best bets. I think you can hold that outside in trust, so you could probably pay for life insurance towards inheritance tax. But what a horrible thing. I know people get inheritance tax on property, but £1 million house for most people is plenty of scope. So £1 million threshold on property for 2 people is all right. I think where it's falling down, and a lot of people can get trapped on, is inheritance tax threshold for a single person who doesn't leave it to immediate family. And when I mean immediate family, I mean their daughters or children, or brothers and sisters, I think, rather than nieces. You can't leave it to nieces and nephews. Their threshold, 325,000, which even around here, a modest house would be that. Have a few quid in the bank and you're paying 40% on that. Boom. How can that be right? How can, you know, of all the taxes that's out there, inheritance tax to me is the most unjust tax, because you try and you work all your life for that. Every penny that is on this farm has been paid for out of taxed money, you know. So putting this orchard in, look at it all, earned money on that to put that in. And I'll tell you a little other side, because I could go on forever, but let me just tell you this now, right? When all our little farms have gone, the little people like me won't be here. I'll just be a history lesson. And this YouTube channel, do you know what? I started it, sorry, I got a bad eye. I started this YouTube channel 12 years ago, and I didn't realise what it would become is a historical record of a little small family dairy farm, which aren't many of us left. But as they were all chipped away, you lose not just the funky farmer, but you lose a little piece of England and another person in the countryside who cares. And I'll tell you how I care. Look, just here, like these trees in this orchard. Let me just show you. Little tag on here. Let me just show you that. Beauty of Bath, the Fletcher family. So if we look around here, this orchard, see all these trees here, that is just a little snapshot of what I've done on this farm. This is a community orchard planted with friends and family 15 years ago, 14 years ago. Each of these trees planted by a different family. There's got a time capsule underneath it. And the idea is that I put something back into my community, and I'm part of that. And I'm part of the landscape, I'm part of farming, I'm part of caring for other people. And I am just, so I come to you on this and show you all this rubbish, but I am just one of many British farmers who care about the landscape and the people around them and the villages and the pheasants in the land, everything. We really care, and we are being gradually obliterated by taxation and bureaucracy. And when I'm gone, there might not be another Funky Farmer or Funky Farmer's son here, because this will be swallowed up by someone else, because things like inheritance tax will just rob this village of another farm. It will. And that's what's going to happen around the countryside, and it needs to stop. It bloody needs to stop, because you lose so much more than just one farm. You lose the heart of the countryside, the people who care, and that's just something that isn't taken into consideration with this inheritance tax grab. I have rattled on enough. Thanks for listening. I couldn't put all the points over there. There's many YouTubers out there saying things about what's going on. Look around the internet, you'll see we've all got an opinion. We all roughly think the same, and we just wonder where we're going with this. But I'm cracking on, but flipping out. Just another kick in the ghoulies, isn't it? I'd always smile, guys, but flipping out. What a day. Right, crack on.